I've been breathing heavy because I hope you put that into a blooper reel. Guys, I've been doing that on purpose the entire video. So hopefully, Brad, you better do something funny with it. All right, guys, we are back in the shop on Sunday. I have to remove a gearbox from an SR10 to get it shipped out to a rebuilder. It had a 4th gear dog ring let go and bounced around the inside of the transmission. I've already diagged it. I have the fluid drained. I've got everything out. There are a big mess of chunks and chunks of gears taken out. You can see some of the damage to the inside of the gearbox, some of the gross stuff here. The filter on this side of the gearbox needs to be changed out. The whole thing needs to be flushed. So I'm not doing that here at the shop. It's getting shipped out to another shop in Georgia and it'll be rebuilt there. So what I have to do is get the entire transmission assembly out. It's not a very difficult job. Stuck in a crate and ready to ship for tomorrow. I'm gonna set you guys up somewhere. We're gonna time lapse this thing. It's a pretty straightforward process. I'll probably set you guys up somewhere like right over here-ish, and we'll get this transmission out. So let's get after it. All right, let us get started. I'm gonna grab the Impacto. All right, I got my tools set up. First step is to pull the axles, get the axles out of the way. We'll start disassembling the top half of the air compressor settings, get all the wiring out of the way. Then we undo this cross bracing back here, which is why I have the car lifted up on the main frame. You can't do it from the suspension because I have to take part of the suspension apart. If I did that, it would collapse. So it's propped up on the frame, get the axles out, get the air compressor out of the way. Then we get the Nick Link bar out of the way, and then there's a secondary bar right here. We pop that out of the way, move the suspension out of the way, and then there are gearbox mounts in the front. Undo the gearbox mounts, undo the clutch line for the throwout bearing, transmission comes out. It's actually a fairly simple process. This is why I like race cars kind of built this way, is because it doesn't take long to get the transmission out. It should take no longer than about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if I'm answering phone calls or interrupted or whatever, but it's a fairly straightforward process. So let's get after it. Let's get the axles out. Snip the zip ties on the brake lines to let them free. We don't want to put any excess pressure on the brake lines here. That one's free. It is an 8 on the impacts. Axle bolt out. Come on, axle bolt out. Soft hammers over here. Tap the upper control arm. Let the axle come out. These axles are getting rebuilt anyway, but you want the axle to come out the transmission side. But you have to understand, you have to remember that the cups do not come out of the transmission. They're physically bolted together. So the cups don't, the tripod and the axle come out. So you want to pop that inner joint out. So let's put that back there, spin it till I can get the clamp, pop the clamp off, axle comes out. All right, that's done. Set that there. There we go, pop the boot off. As you can tell, that falls away. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what you guys can and can't see over there. Slide the axle out. Make sure, ooh, that axle needs way more grease than that. Grease is looking pretty pitiful. Make sure the plunger stays in there. Lift this back up. Tap that back down. That's all we need to do. We'll grab the nut and the spacer. Spacer, it's beveled, it goes down. I'll show you guys. The spacer is beveled. I don't know here in a second. You can see that it is beveled. The beveled part goes towards the spherical bearing. Creates that spacer. If you get that mixed up, it seizes that spherical bearing in there. Tap that back on. Axle is out, gets set aside. Those are gonna get cleaned and repacked. Tap the arm up. lift it, flat tip screwdriver to pop the clamp off, to rotate that. Oh, wrong way. There goes the spacer that popped out. Axle popped. Ready to catch this assembly. This one has the appropriate amount of grease in it. Looks pretty well done. You, stop. There we go, axle out. Set that down. Lift this back up. I'm starting to sweat. Shoo. Beveled side down. Loosely put the nut on. There we go. Now, we need to snip all of the zip ties to the compressor motor and unhook all of the connections, the air lines, etc., etc. There we go. So, start cutting zip ties. Pressure sensor is cut or taken off. That's the sensor on this side that I just unplugged. That tells the ECU how much air pressure is in the tank and when to cut the compressor on and off. Zip ties. That's out of the way. Get this out of the shift actuator. Unhooking the compressor motor. Compressor motor's done. Wiring harness. Carefully feed it through. One more plug here. This is for the gear shift position sensor. And the way that works is it has inside the transmission, right on the very end, it has a Lovejoy coupling. And every time you select a gear, it's a specific voltage that it requests. And you have to dial that in and make sure that works. And then just unhooked the gearbox temp sensor. Get these out of the way. Pull that through with the harness. All right, harness is almost all the way out. You only need to snip it back so it's not touching, or it's behind this brace right here. You don't have to pull it all the way out, but you got to get it completely loose. Now, where I'm going after here are the gear pot sensors. What that means is it's or ride height potentiometers, whatever you want to call them. You get those out of the way because this whole bar comes off. And you guys will see that here in just a second. I don't think these are the factory zip ties, to be honest with you. This is not put back in the factory location. When we put everything back, it'll go factory location. Okay, put this all right back here. That stays. These sensors come back. That goes there. All right, we have both wiring harnesses up out of the way. I'm gonna pull this last one, this last zip tie out of the way. Okay, so tuck that back a little further. All right, we have that done. Now I do have to pull a couple of these zip ties to get the clutch pressure sensor undone because that's mounted to the actual physical bell housing, the bolts that we're going to take off. Actually, no, I'm just going to pull trans. That all can stay. That can hang out. We got a couple. Pull these plugs out of the way. This is the lambda sensor. I can tuck that out of the way. Cut the zip ties. Now there's going to be fluid kind of going everywhere, and unfortunately, I have no idea where my AN dead end fittings are to keep the fluid from leaking everywhere, so I'm gonna have to zip tie these lines up. They're gonna have to get undone because they go as I'm pulling the gearbox out this way. I have to feed them through the bell housing. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but that's just how it is. Let's just plunge her back in. You go in there. The spring's still there. Perfect. All right, now it's time to get the Nicklink rocker out of the way, or the Nicklink bar out of the way. Zip ties everywhere. And then get this cross bracing out. Pull this rear bracing. We don't have to do the exhaust, that's on the other side. So let's get this mount and this mount undone. Get the spacers out, record how many spacers are in there. Let's pull these AN lines out of the way and get this rear bracing out of the way so I can move to the compressor bracing. I've already drained the transmission upon inspection. Get it back to 1, 2, 3. Nope, get in there. 4. There we go, bracket's loose. So the main rear transmission mount is free. My rubber bushings are going everywhere. This is now free. This is your rear transmission mount. Now we are free and clear to get the nick link bar out of the way, and then the compressor bracket will all come out together. This has washers and spacers. You don't want to lose those. There we go. Spacer, this all goes together. I'm going to put it back in the end of the nick link. Rocker bar, nick link bar, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's a sway bar, but super fancy on a cantilever system. I wonder if I can just tilt this up and undo everything and leave that over there, because that's where this connects on the other side is a bit of a pain in the butt. So let's start with the bracket. 4 bolts, wrong, right there. 4 bolts, 1. Try not to drop any of the hardware. I'll put this back in the bar once we get it completely out. Here's the second one on this side. Ow! Grab a rubber glove. Frick. Anyway. Get on there. It's taking my rubber glove. Ah, you sucker bitch. Grab the washer. Grab a 1/2-inch wrench and walk it out. Walk it out. Walk it out. 1/2-inch wrench in down. Just hold almost there. Okay, let's loosen up the other ones. Those are under pressure. I can feel it already. The actual bolt isn't spinning. This thing needs a good clean once we get the trans out. Oh, that was taut. Ouch. Okay, let's tap those out. There we go. It's 2 completely out. Ow! Spin out, you bastard. It's got some corrosion on there. So we're gonna have to use the copper slip, make sure that all of this goes back together without any sort of corrosion. Unthreaded. Okay, so this side is free. We'll have to take a pry bar, pop it out, see where we're at. Nothing else is connected. To be very careful to make sure that everything is undone. That's undone. I need to get this last bolt out. There we go. Unthread it. Same way with this bolt. It's got a little bit of corrosion on it. So it's important that if you guys drive these cars in the rain, that you go back through and make sure that all your bolts and stuff are completely dry, because you don't want corrosion on these cars. Pry bar, let's wedge this bar up. There we go, it's up on that side. Compressor, all that's out, completely out. Slide that out of the way. Now we need to undo the fire extinguisher because it is mounted on top of the part of the gearbox that we're taking out. I need to remove this line, which is the overflow for the transmission. Just in case you overfill it, it goes into the catch can and it doesn't blow any seals. So let me get that out. I believe that's a 9/16. Oh, hang on. Before I do that, let me put all of this hardware back into the compressor bracket. So let's get the overflow pipe off. I'll thread this back down into the transmission. It'll go with me. That way it doesn't get misplaced with the 2 copper crush washers. And then this, just gonna hang out right there. Shoo, that stinks. Okay, AN lines, and then the fire extinguisher line. Let's get the fire extinguisher out of the way. It looks like it's gonna be a 5mm Allen on top of the gear casing. Yep. This one gonna be. Remind me, I need to get some Bondist end Allens. Bondist end just means it's the ball end type deals for tight clearances. Bend that nice and easy out of the way. Don't kink the line. Just bend it up a little bit. Allen, or try this one. Not quite sure what the difference is. There we go. There we go. All right, these are the transmission cooler lines. Goes in and out of a oil cooler over here in the left side pod. And since this basically shot metal through the entire transmission, I'm gonna have to get in there, get that side pod off, the whole left side pod, get that cooler out of there and get that thing flushed. So, fun. Or I can find myself a pump and do it in the car and just get it all flushed out, run a bunch of mineral spirits and stuff through there. That might be the better option, is find myself a little 12-volt gear oil pump and flush that. I mean, for all intents and purposes, everything is clear. I need to pull the clutch line, get that prepped to come through the bell housing. I need to get that, probably need to get a jack back here and prop this up just a little bit with a little bit of tension, and then start pulling my bolts, and then pull that big center bolt out. That big center bolt is a giant pain in the butt to get lined up, and typically you have to use a slide hammer in order to get that bolt out. So hopefully that isn't the case, and I don't have to do that. But if I do, I know how to, I'll go get a slide hammer and do the whole whack-a-mole thing. Most of the time, if you get it positioned just right, you can get that out of there fairly easy. It's gonna be a pain in the butt, but it's always nice to have a slide hammer to do that. But I don't currently have one because it's in my race trailer. The fabled race trailer, the Ghost. Some of you will get that joke, some of you won't. Okay. Actually, no, I don't have to take that out. God, Jesus, this is gonna be... I'm ready to pull the transmission. I forgot that it goes through the bell housing, and I'm not taking the bell housing or the clutch off. So, with that being said, clutch lines, throw out bearing line, and start pulling trans, and she's ready to come out. Jeez. Let's see if I can do just the line, because I don't really want to take that off. These are, if you've ever done one of these, I'm not gonna lie, these are slightly prone to breaking. And you have to get just the line off anyway, because the bulkhead right here is not gonna fit through the hole in the transmission bell housing. Still, that, stay, no. Flop it, pull this off. Yeah, no, cool, love that. This is slightly larger. Unfortunately, I'm missing my 5/8 wrench. 17, 16, 15 will do it. So hold that there. Oh, sweet, broke it. There we go. Pull that bulkhead fitting out. We are gonna put this bulkhead fitting back where it belongs without breaking the damn thing. That way it stays with the car. I'm not to fool with it. 7/16 on the line. I think that one round was a 1/2 inch. Sure is. Now that's done leaking. I'm gonna put this under here because it will leak out clutch fluid. You're gonna have to bleed the clutch anyway, but it will leak clutch fluid. Here we go, maybe, maybe not. All right, so I've got both my lines ready to come through the bell housing. So now I'm going after all of the 1/2 inch nuts, 1/2 inch nuts on the top. Just go ahead and get those out of the way. There's one 1/2 inch nut in the center at the top of this gearbox. Kind of a pain in the butt. I'm gonna go, what was that? That drew out as much as it wants to. Still don't know what the hell I dropped. Oh, is the other clamp. That's trash. Now, just from the evidence of these nuts, it looks like this transmission's been taken out at least once. There's some pretty good scarring on the nuts from wrenches. I'm not quite sure. This car's only got 20 hours on it, 20-ish. And this is a very unique gearbox failure. It typically doesn't fail. Like again, I'll show you guys here in a minute what exactly failed. And it also is missing that washer for the gearbox. And the nut was actually dug into the gearbox. Now this is the part that takes a little bit of patience because some of the nuts and studs are a little bit kind of a pain in the butt to get to, and I'm not looking to disconnect the cooling system. If I was pulling the motor, you know, I would go ahead and drain the cooling system, get this hose out of the way right here and all that, but I'm not looking to do any of that. We're just pulling gearbox. Get out of the way. That's kind of taut. And you here. Aha. Get on there, fucker. There we go. Get on there. Oh, you bitch. Come here. I gotta pee. All right, second nut. Where did I put the first one? Now I know I have to do this other one with a wrench. It's dead center up under that housing. And again, like I said, this one's gonna be the most difficult one to get out. And then we're gonna muscle the damn gearbox out. Let me push everything out of the way and get after this center 1/2-inch bolt, which actually I might be able to fit. This plug out of the way. I need to get the lambda sensor plug out of the way. Don't want to damage that. God, I need some of those shallow. Oh, okay, here we go. Oh, God bless. There we go, got it loose. It's right up against another water pipe right there, so you got to be very careful not to damage anything when getting the nut off. I'm used to short stroking anyway. It would be nice to get a set of meta glasses. That way you guys can have a POV. Can I get that? There we go. It's coming off by hand. All right, come on. Oh, nut off. All right, now it's just the remaining 8mm Allens down the sides of the transmission. But what we need to do is grab the jack and get it over here and lift up slightly on the transmission. That way I'm not hurting any of those aluminum threads. Excuse me, coming out. Let's see if I can't get these lines out, up and away, so they're not leaking anymore. Oh, there we go. Slide these up on the other side, up here where the rest of the stuff goes. There we go. They'll quit leaking. Wipe them off. There we go. Set these here. Zip tie these to the. Oh, hey, those are zip tied out of the way. I just wiped gear oil all over my nose. That's. And for those of you that know. Alright. A little bit of gear oil out of there. The stuff coming out of the lines didn't leave a lot of metal residue, which is hopeful. Let's just touch transmission. Let's get the rest of the bolts out. Lay down on the ground. The lower ones out. Nice and easy. There's no pressure on the threads. What we don't want to do is have this thing angled a little bit or the transmission as we're taking these out and damage the aluminum threads in this bell housing. Because then we'd have to change the bell housing and that's a pain in the ass. Okay, there's 2 transmission bolts out. I'm gonna have to grab my short 8. And as I'm sure you can imagine, if you had 2 people doing this, it would go much faster, but it's just me here at the shop because I'm here on a Sunday. But it's what it takes to get this thing done in a timely manner, so go me. Overachiever here. Get in there. Get in there, Lewis. Nice and easy coming out. I think I have to grab my standard. Get this. It's out way enough. That's loose enough to take out by hand now, which is good. Oh yeah. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, that one's done. Let's go down the other side. I think I got one here with this cross brace down here. I cannot get, yeah, it's too long, so I have to grab my standard. Get this bottom one, this cross member is kind of tight to that, so you have to grab just your standard Allen key. And again, a couple turns and it's ready to come out by hand, which is good news. Okay, to the other side of the gearbox. Do the final 2 and then we'll walk it back. Get it out of the input shaft. Or get it, back it out of the clutch. And again, we gotta slowly walk it back because I have to feed the clutch lines through the bell housing. And again, I just got a glob of grease, gross. I have to clean all that out. I think I've been going at it now for about 45 minutes. All right, lower one done. Toss that down there. Let's get this upper one out. I can turn it by hand, but it's gonna be faster by ratchet. Okay, final bolt out. Got that lip. I should be able to walk this transmission back just a little bit. There we go. There we go. She's on the jack. She's got the jack. Okay, we're out of the input shaft. So, slowly walk it back on the jack. Hold it up. Hold up. There we go. Get you enough room feed these out. You gotta be careful because the machined edges of these bell housings, you don't want it to chafe the line. So you gotta feed it out nice and easy. Both are out. I've got the back half rested on the jack. We'll walk her out. Boom. Bob's your uncle. Jesus Christ, that's heavy. Transmission out. Shoo! All right. I don't know how long that was, probably about 45 minutes. She's leaking a little bit of gear oil, but that's fine. I'd rather it leak here than in the box. That's what it takes to get a gearbox out of an SR10. If you have to do clutch work, you do have to pull the bell housing. It is a little difficult to get everything in there. Everything else looks good. We're gonna leave it. I'm gonna thread these bolts back into where they go. They're all the same length, so you can't really screw it up. So there we go. Thread these guys back in. And normally, you can do that with a cherry picker as well. On the center of the transmission, you probably can't see it, I'll show you guys here in a second. You can throw a threaded rod through the center of that transmission, or that hole in the transmission. Used to be a mount hole, but we don't use those in the Radical because these are the same transmissions that go in some of the F2 and F2000 cars. They use those for mounting the trans. We do not. And if you put a threaded rod through there and use a cherry picker, that transmission is super, super balanced. It makes it so much easier to pull. I don't have my cherry picker here. I haven't unloaded all of the shop equipment yet because we're kind of packed in here in cars, as well as we're in the process of setting up stacker lifts for more storage. I'm not made of money, obviously. We do well here at the shop, but anytime that I can continue to work and not stop the workflow, that's definitely better. As we're adjusting, we do everything a little bit here, a little bit there. It's incredibly frustrating for me because I like to get everything done as soon as possible, and not having the fun equipment or the necessary equipment sometimes gets kind of frustrating, but we still get the damn job done. I'm going to lift this trans in and then drain the rest of the transmission fluid into that pan if I can. Pan. Can't use gloves because my hands are all moist. I'm gonna stop the video here, guys. Transmission's out. All I gotta do is put the back cover back on it, get it put in a crate. I'm sure that's way too boring for you guys, so I'm gonna get this thing crated up, get it ready to rock and roll. All right, guys, I'm actually gonna throw the wheels back on this bad boy. That way she is completely mobile, and that way she's not stuck in the middle of the shop. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Control arm bolts, just somewhat snug. This is right rear, left rear. Gearbox in the way. Got it on a little rolly dolly. You stay there. Okay, put it on there. The wheel nuts, blue on right, tighten forward, red on left, tighten forward. Impact gun. Gets loud, and as you guys have probably seen me use microfibers for wiping stuff up. Once they get done being used as a detail rag, they go straight to getting washed, and then they become shop rags. It's a consumable here in the shop because they absorb well, they clean well. They are consumable here in the shop because we do detail as well. I just don't show any of that. And to be honest with you, it's not my forte. But Brad, the guy that is editing this video, he's good at it. So I'm gonna move this thing around. She's completely mobile now. Get cleaned up, I'm gonna get that out, get this out, get the Miata out. If you could help out the channel, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, click that notification bell. If you want to see us do cool shit like this all the time, it would be much appreciated. It's free to do. And also, check out ExcelsiorAutoServices.com for the new merch coming out. Brad has been spending a lot of time doing that kind of stuff. So, another way to help out the channel, get some cool merch. I've got some for myself already on the way. Yeah, if you guys could help us out, that'd be awesome. Let's get after it.